Jurassic World became the third highest grossing film of all time in just 13 days. The fastest any film had ever climbed that high. It revived a franchise that had been dormant for 14 years, and audiences showed up in numbers nobody predicted. From rank 80 downward, every film crossed $700 million worldwide. Harry Potter dominates this section. 6 of the 8 films in the franchise land right here. What's remarkable is that the Potter series never once had a box office disappointment. Every single installment outgrossed the previous one, turning a children's book into the biggest literary franchise in film history. At rank 51, we cross into the billion-dollar club. Every film from this point forward earned more than $1 billion at the worldwide box office. To put that in perspective, only around 50 films in cinema history have ever achieved this. Half of them are in this countdown. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, and Disney Animation account for the majority of what you're about to see. Marvel tightens its grip on this list. 12 of the next 20 films are from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the most dominant franchise run in box office history. Between 2012 and 2019, Marvel released a film that crossed $1 billion almost every single year. No studio had ever achieved anything like it before, and it's unlikely any studio ever will again. We are now in record-breaking territory. Every film from rank 20 downward held an all-time box office record at some point in cinema history. These are not just successful films. They are cultural events that stopped the world. Opening weekends that rewrote the record books, franchises that spanned decades, and stories that audiences refuse to miss. Jurassic World became the third highest grossing film of all time in just 13 days, the fastest any film had ever climbed that high. It revived a franchise that had been dormant for 14 years, and audiences showed up in numbers nobody predicted. Inside Out 2 is the highest grossing original animated film ever made. No pre-existing franchise, no comic book, no sequel setup. Pixar proved that a completely original story, told well enough, can still compete with the biggest blockbusters on the planet. Released during a global pandemic, No Way Home became the first film of the COVID era to cross $1 billion, then kept going all the way to 1.9. It remains the biggest December opening in cinema history. Ne Zha 2 is the highest-grossing non-Hollywood film ever made, a Chinese animated sequel that the Western world barely saw coming. It grossed nearly all of its $2 billion entirely within China, making it the most locally dominant blockbuster in history. Infinity War reached $1 billion in just 11 days, the fastest any film had ever crossed that threshold at the time. It ended with one of the most shocking finales in blockbuster history and left audiences waiting a full year for the answer. 32 years after Return of the Jedi, Star Wars returned to cinemas and shattered the record for the biggest opening weekend in history. It crossed $1 billion in 12 days and reminded the world that no franchise ever really dies. Titanic was the first film ever to gross $1 billion, and it held the all-time record for 12 consecutive years. James Cameron went massively over budget. The studio expected a disaster, and it won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. James Cameron's sequel needed to gross $2 billion just to break even on its production costs. It earned $2.3 billion, making Cameron the only director in history to have made 3 of the 5 highest-grossing films of all time. Endgame concluded a 22-film story arc spanning 11 years. and dethroned Avatar as the highest-grossing film of all time after just 13 weeks in theaters. No film has come closer to $2.8 billion since. Avatar has been re-released 4 times and has never lost the top spot. With $2.9 billion, it remains the highest-grossing film in cinema history. And with Avatar 3 already out, James Cameron may yet rewrite his own record.